Facilitator, audience, judges, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start our debate today, may I call on the facilitator of this debate for her introduction, Ms. Cheryl Waits.
Since its invention over 30 years ago, the electronic calculator has evolved from a machine that could only perform simple four-function operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division into one, that can now also execute highly technical algebraic symbolic manipulations instantly and accurately. Calculators allow students access to mathematical concepts and experiences from which they were previously limited with only paper and pencil. Because calculators make possible mathematical exploration, experimentation, and enhancement of learning mathematical concepts, the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics and other various organizations and individuals recommend that appropriate calculators be made available for use by students at every grade level from kindergarten through college. Despite the extensive research documenting the benefits of calculator use, there are still many skeptics who worry that calculator use will impair students' mathematical ability and result in increased mathematical illiteracy. And for this morning, you shall witness or hear our students and giving us the disadvantages and advantages of the use of calculators in solving mathematical problems.
Please set your handphone or any devices that may distort our debate to the silent mode, especially for the audience. Please do not leave or enter the room during the speech. Welcome to Perlas National High School, round of the use of calculator in solving math, English debating with emotion. Before we start the debate today, may I call on the judges of this debate. First, Guidance Counselor Designate, Mrs. Cecilia G. Hinon. Assistant to the School Head Designate, Mrs. Luciens S. Samurai. LIS Coordinator, Mr. Jose Inuhada. On my left side, acting as affirmative team for this debate, is a team from Section Sparrow, with John Carl Torres as the first speaker, Ms. Queenie Zagado as the second speaker, Ms. Joyce Nicole Burong as the third speaker, Ms. Krisha Maris Maniaga as the fourth speaker, Ms. Heavenly Grace Lanyas as the fifth speaker, lastly, Mr. Efren Bonghanoy as the sixth speaker. Then on the left side, acting as composition team for this debate, is the team from Section Oriole, with Ms. Katrina Yukang as the first speaker, Ms. Wenda Pineda as the second speaker, Ms. Trisha Anantay as third speaker, Ms. Eileen Gulliver as the fifth speaker, Mr. Jade Ernger as the fifth speaker, lastly Ms. Eileen Gulliver as sixth speaker, Ivy Tingan as sixth speaker. Now we come into our debate today. To open up the case for the affirmative team, here is the first speaker of the affirmative team, Mr. John Carl Torres.
In the year 2008, learning math requires the mastery of concept for long-term benefit. Nowadays, we cannot do away with calculators as they are cheap and easily available. It has formed a part of our life. It reduces our workload and has it deemed a necessary skill to have. For example, when someone's intention is to reduce her or his tedious numerical steps, exchange time for a more focused and understanding what the step problem is all about, then the calculators become useful tools. Math learning, for that matter, cannot do away with calculator in the long run. when understanding of math calculation is the objective of the lesson. Calculator can be withdrawn to ensure that a computational analysis is driven to the brain. Only upon achieving the objective can the teacher allow the students them to use back the calculator to move forward to other topics. This ensures that no part of the math education is missed out. Thus, calculator, though may seem detrimental to math students, can be beneficial when he or her interest of usage is proper. Knowing what is the focus saves you time and effort, create, and more ways is doing the improper thing. Back then, most calculators came with limited functionality, operating as little more than efficient abacuses for use and basic arithmetic. Thank you.
To continue our debate today, I would like to call the second speaker of the affirmative team, Ms. Pini Zagado. Spend 3 minutes.
We are now living in a world wherein everything are associated with machines. Single drop of sweats and tiredness are no longer present in one's vocabulary. So here's the thought about people. Does calculators are necessary in math world? We are now living in an age of technology wherein everything are not easily accessed. Pencil and papers nowadays become obsolete and a waste of time. As the quote once said, no man is an island. We individuals surely have the capabilities and talents in every field, yet we cannot exhaust everything by just depending on our own bare hands. That's why calculators are being invented. Calculators are made to access and help one person in doing things in the right way. It unfurls knowledge that a normal human brain can produce. So calculators should and must be allowed to invade in a person's life because it has the capacity in making our jobs become easy and fast. Calculators may be a hindrance in developing our brain's normal activity in such a way that it does all the things, especially in calculation, instead of us who have the wits and knowledge. But we can't deny the fact that calculators are the one who satisfies our laziness. Above all, calculators is just a necessity that trains human knowledge. It is somewhat a tool that helps us save our precious time and our efforts. According to research in mathematics education of 1987 National Council Teachers, calculators provide a service that's invaluable. It offers a service where an individual can produce the sign of darkness. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, and this is the third speaker of the affirmative team, Ms. Joyce Nicole Verong. Spend 3 minutes.
Calculator is an electronic device that is used for adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, or etc. Or in general, it is used in solving mathematical concepts. No matter what the level at which we teach and learn mathematics, we are being asked to incorporate calculators into our instruction to reach students both calculator facility and effective ways of using calculators and to encourage and expect those students to use calculators appropriately and effectively. Since people nowadays live and like to work faster in every field, especially in counting process, they prefer to use calculator more than manual counting. As early as 1975, just 3 years after the introduction of Texas Instruments data math calculators, the National Advisory Committee on Mathematical Education urged that calculators be used in mathematical instructions. Calculators can be powerful tools in the study of mathematics, particularly in the area of problem solving. Therefore, as what our facilitator said, calculators allow students access to mathematical concepts and experience from which they were previously limited with only paper and pencil. Because calculator can solve complicated problems quickly and in an efficient manner. It gives more accurate results than counting manually. And it allows formulas for all counting process and makes the counting process easier. It avoids boredom in counting process and it can calculate cash that has been spent against the remaining money. One of the advantages of this calculator is technological knowledge. We live in a society that is always changing to the plethora of ever advancing technology. Apple iPad devices are necessary in every classroom. Technology is huge in learning how to use such technology, in which it is good for each student to have an understanding in using calculators. Therefore, we believe that students should use calculators in order to access ideas and solutions immediately and quickly. And, and the schools should allow using calculators in classroom environment for them to work easier. As the world changes quickly in time, generation and modern technologies are improving, which works are getting faster and as easier. Thank you.
To continue our debate today, I would like to call the first speaker of the affirmative team, Ms. Krisha Marie Maniaga. Spend 3 minutes. Provide a quick, easy, accurate alternative, that is calculator. Allow students to come up with the right answer faster than even the most sessioned mental mathematician could. Let's talk about calculus as an example. Before calculator came around, students often spent much of the time and effort just learning the various rules and procedures. As a study conducted by Calvin Heath at the University of Pennsylvania in 1988, comparing the conceptual understanding of students who used calculators in their calculus course versus those who didn't. As a result, the student who did math with scientific calculator had a far more detailed knowledge of the theory behind the results. Calculator makes our way of answering easier and faster. As the 21st century learner, or should I say the millennials, calculators invented to ensure the quality of the time. It seems that where traditional mathematical methods of problem using had a tendency to turn off the large number of students as an equalizer. Now, all the students have the ability to delve deeper into the subject. Many students nowadays prefer to use calculator because they can answer they can answer the task or the problem that don't need time expended. Thank you. We are now to the fifth speaker of the affirmative team, Ms. Heavenly Grace Nanias.
Like any tool, a calculator can only do what you make it do. According to the Journal for Research in Mathematics Education of 1987 of the National Council for Teachers of Mathematics, it is said that for an entire school year, 24 7th grade classes were taught problem-solving strategies with their teachers. In 14 of the classes, the instruction was supplemented by calculators, while 10 of them were told to do it manually. After their test, it showed that 14 of the classes of whom used calculators scored higher than the 10 students who did the test manually. One benefit of a scientific calculator that cannot be denied is how much it speeds up the learning process. They can show us a variety of problems centering on the same basic concept in a fraction of time. A study into the effect of handheld calculators in mathematics conducted in 1986 seems to back up these views. According to researcher Ray Hambry, the integration of calculators into regular instruction of algebra not only increased the achievement level of all students in the corpus. One advantage of using calculators is enjoyment. Why? As we all know, math is tedious, hard, and might not be everyone's favorite subject. But when calculators are used in classes, it will not just help students to enjoy and love math, but it will also encourage teachers to teach math. An example of this is when a teacher will give an activity which involves in solving large numbers. Of course, it is hard for students to solve it manually, but with its help, The students will be able to answer the activity in just a short period of time. Another is accuracy. Using calculators, everything will be fast and accurate, which makes them a great complementary feature, not just for students and teachers, but for also the businessmen out there. For instance, we might have students to complete a set of problems and check to see if they've gotten them right on the calculator. Calculators are great for this purpose. If both don't answer line up, students can go back and check their work to see where they may have gone wrong. They are all immensely valuable for validating work. Students should learn using calculators, which are helpful tools that students can turn to help for and not just answer. Thank you.
Lastly, the speaker of the affirmative team, Mr. Efren Bonghanoy, spent 3 minutes.
Nowadays, we are living in the 21st century, or we call millennials. Calculators, 21st century or millennials are associated with social media. Calculators are very efficient to students because this is provide to solve easier and faster problems. Calculators are allowed by the students to make the problems solved by not calculator manually. One of the advantage of using calculators is accuracy. It gives accurate results to all working manually. Because if we see accuracy, it makes the students will solve it easier and faster. Thank you.
Then to start the case for the negative team, here is the first speaker of the negative team, Ms. Katrina Buchan.
Good morning. The first generation of people on earth are useless, so innocent, and doesn't know anything about the world and what they have to do. But generations passed. People started to think otherwise. People became curious and have so much questions in their minds. And then people started to do research and studies, living things and so much more. They started to discover and invent things. There were scientists, explorers, inventors, mathematicians, and so much more. But our topic is all about the usage of calculators in school. In this generation, we are now living in technology. And in the modern world, technology helps people do things in the easier way and makes people's life comfortable in some way. When we talk about mathematics, in which mathematics comes from the Greek word mathema, which means knowledge, study, and learning. Mathematics is a study of such topics such as quantity, structure, space, and change. And then we have the so-called inventors who invented this device called calculator. Calculator is typically a portable electronic device which performs calculations ranging from basic arithmetic to complex mathematics. Students in our generation use calculators to solve equations easier. But for me, using calculators has its advantages too. Remember what I said earlier, mathematics means knowledge, study, and learning. And because of this invention, people are starting to become lazy and have poor IQ because not all products of technology are beneficial. Just like dishwasher, washing machine. Why do we have to invent these inventions when we know how to wash it in our own, right? We have why do inventors invent calculators when we know how to manually compute these equations, right? All they do is just press and clicking on the calculator without even understanding the topic that was given. According to the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, if high school students don't know how to do basic computations by hand or don't have a good understanding of estimation, then they may not even realize that the calculator got it wrong, right? In addition, based on the study of Brookings Institution, children living in countries that have limited use or no access to calculators in school continue to excel in standardized tests. So I conclude that students must study first the basic concepts and manually compute these equations because I believe that calculators are useless if you don't understand the content of your lesson. And I consider that calculators is not really important to students in acquiring a higher quality of education. Thank you.
For more thoughts, I call on the second speaker of the negative team, Ms. Wena Pineda.
The technology is booming in modern innovation, and technology has changed our lives. However, there are some old objects that are still used by us in our daily life. Calculator is one of the devices that still carries importance in our life. This handheld device is used by students, but the real picture is very different from what we have discussed about the advantage of calculator. The advantages are not as attractive and sometimes situations can lower the confidence of the student. Initially, the brand may be the best in the market, but it is still a device. The power and efficiency is completely dependent on the ability of the operator. A student must know the instructions given in the manual. There are many scenarios where students can make mistakes, such as pressing wrong buttons can make mistakes, forgetting to change the mode, incorrectly rounding the values, and wrong method of evaluating the brackets. If a student learns to calculate percentages without continuous access to calculator, that student will most likely to be unable to calculate percentage without the assistance of calculator. Similarly, this access may limit the student's ability to perform other basic calculations that often occur in everyday life. I have here four disadvantages of using calculators in school. First, students will be also dependent on using calculators for counting. Second, students will become lazy because they already have calculator for counting. Third, students will not know how to get the results of their questions by their own. And lastly, students will be able to memorize the process of the problem solving. That's all. Thank you.
This is the fourth speaker of the negative team, Ms. Eileen Villiver. The third speaker of the negative team, Ms. Krisha Anakan.
the, ad- with the advent of smartphones, many of us now carry calculators in our pockets wherever we go. However, that doesn't mean students should rely on calculators to do all their mathematical thinking, and it certainly doesn't excuse them from learning basic number facts. It is important for teachers to point out the appropriate times for calculator usage, at the times when the only computing device needed is your brain. Calculators really should only be used in school after students have met certain criteria. They should have mastery of the basics of the function being used. For example, a third grading using a calculator to find 6 times 2 is now using it properly. A freshman multiplying 6.245 times 3.25 for part A of a multi-step problem is. Many elementary students are scared of big numbers, but using a calculator will help them overcome their anxiety. Just because it's easier to use a calculator does not mean it's more efficient to do so. For example, having to reach in your pocket to find your phone and load your calculator app just to plug in 8 times 0.70 to find out how much 8 packs of gum will cost you will take much longer than having memorized 8 times 7 equals to 56 and using your mathematical knowledge to adjust for the decimal. At this time, the use of a calculator can be embarrassing. One of the disadvantage of using calculator is no skill building. Why? Because calculators take away the necessity for a student to know the basics. Even for young students just learning their facts, it serves no purpose to use a calculator to compute 6 times 4, other than perhaps to cheat their answers. Furthermore, a student who relies on the calculator for simple equations will not remember the situation after he writes it down on the homework page. Relying on a calculator results in a child being unable to progress in math due to lack of fluency and the cause of facts. A child who is able to compute 6 times 4 without a calculator knows much more about the concept of multiplication than a calculator user.
To continue our debate, this is the fourth speaker, Ms. Eileen Villaper.
Calculators discourage the student the use of reasoning skills, stimulate higher order thinking, and does not aid the teaching of mathematical operations. Calculators also take away the necessity for a student to know the basics. Even for young students, just learning their facts, it serves no purpose to use the calculator to compute or to check their answers. Furthermore, a student who relies on the calculator for a simple equation will not remember the solution after he writes or she writes it down on the homework. Relying on a calculator results being unable to progress in math due to lack of fluency and recall of facts. I have some disadvantages of using calculators. First is people or students will be so dependent in using calculators for counting, and students will not know how to get the result of their questions. Then calculators limits the knowledge of the users. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the fifth speaker, Mr. J. Aaron Garces.
Yes, we said earlier that calculator is helpful and effective, but calculators are not helpful in all of the times. In fact, it is a key that teaches the students to be lazy. You were telling lately that I'm using calculators disregarding one's invention. Actually, it's not disregarding, but it is helping oneself to achieve critical thinking in solving math problems. Most of us use calculators, but we are too dependent on it. We always used to rely calculators to do it. Calculators, in fact, discouraging children or students from developing an understanding of mathematical concepts. Calculators ultimately not a help, but a hindrance. There's no place, according to the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, in the article of the homeschool math, there's no place for calculators in the classroom, whether elementary or high school. Mental math is necessary. Memorizing multiplication facts or working math out with pencil and paper has not become obsolete and absolutely not a waste of time. In fact, it enhances the mental skills and passion in solving math problems. We have definitely seen students who were too dependent on the calculator. It is incredibly easy to make careless mistakes by punching or what do you call it? Or punching or pointing something incorrectly into the calculator. One study even found evidence that fourth graders' computational skill acquisition was hindered by the classroom use of calculators. In addition, children living in countries excel higher, which they use to compute mathematical problems manually than using calculators. We're living in an age of technology. Technology made lives effortless, but always bear in your minds that technology also leads human to laziness. We can compute without the use of calculators, though it's difficult, but there's only one thing to arrive at the right answer, and that is patience. Patience in solving is a great help. In fact, it results to have a better attitude in solving math problems. Whatever the context, patience is the key. Thank you.
Lastly, this is a speaker of the negative team, Miss Heidi Tingkaan.
So, good morning. As part of world's innovation, variety of technologies are now booming, such as computers, cell phones, and any kind of machines. And it includes the calculator. The calculator is an electronic device used to do basic mathematical calculation. It has been a way to make our computation easier, and it's been common in day-to-day life where everyone makes use of its application. In the early stages, they perform only the basic operation like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. A required number of research and assessments are carried out to develop scientific and advanced calculator. But however, that doesn't mean we students should always rely on calculators to do our mathematical thinking. So according to Matt Doskimensky, calculator takes away the imperative for a student to know the basic calculation. Furthermore, a student who relies on the calculator for a simple equation can't recall the solution after he or she writes it down on the homework page. Just because it's easier to use a calculator does not mean it's more efficient to do so. For example, having to reach into your calculator while buying just to plug in 12 times 6 to find out how much 12 bags of biscuits will cost will take much longer than memorize 12 times 7 is equals to 72 using your mathematical knowledge. At times, the use of calculator can be embarrassing. For example, having to take out your calculator to calculate your percentage grade on 100-item test in mathematics will let the entire class know you didn't do well. On the other hand, being able to quickly calculate numbers can be impressive during job interviews and continue to come in handy throughout life.
So the other disadvantage of using calculator is people find it difficult to do simple calculation. Yeah, that's right. So without the use of calculator, teacher and parents are against makes use of calculator for lower level class of students because which reduce the basic skill of learning mathematics techniques among them. So logical thought of mind or logical learning skills keeps on reducing day by day. Even though the need of a calculator is essential and used in wide range of application, manual method of solving the problem is carried out for verification is scary. Thank you.
Thank you, speakers, for your speech. Now, we are moved to the rebuttal. To start with, may I call on Mr. John Carl Torres to open up the rebuttal.
Okay, how can you assure that using mental calculation result will be similar to the calculator? Okay, again, how can you assure that using mental calculation result will be similar to the calculator?
Not all calculators can give us accurate or correct answer all the time. So to assure, I prefer to mental calculate than to rely on calculator because in mental calculation you can figure out your errors and you can recheck your answers.
What is, can you give us the best advantage of using calculators that you didn't said a while ago?
Okay, the most advantage of using calculator is gives the accurate answer because there are some instances or events or cases that we miscalculate just using your mental calculating because calculator is just one click you can get now the answer. That's all. Thank you.
How can, how can you assure that you got the answer accurately? What if students don't know how to use the calculator? For example, they don't know how to use it, the function. For example, they don't know the symbol of the calculator x squared. So how will they do that? If, for example, another k or another function in the calculator.
So we know really perfect. So as the thing that is being invented is not perfect. So we tend to commit mistakes or yeah. But yeah, we can correct and calculators isn't perfect anyway. So by the time that when you solve problems through the calculators and the answer isn't right, logic and knowledge by yourself to help you resolve that, and calculators shouldn't be blamed because it's an invention anyway, and it isn't like a normal person that has brain activity. Thank you. Okay, as my opinion, calculator, one of its advantages, it gives accurate answer.
So it doesn't mean that if you get wrong, it is if the calculator gives a wrong answer, it depends on the person who tries to get an answer. So if you are blaming to the calculators that give a wrong answer, it depends on you. Thank you.
As what you taught earlier, calculators disregarding basic knowledge the person has possessed. So let me ask you a question. Can you just allow the fact that you're disregarding an invention that is being spent with effort and knowledge? Can you just allow the fact that you're disregarding an invention?
Actually, we are not disregarding one's invention, but we are including ourselves, especially our critical thinking, solving math problems. Because most of us don't know how to use the calculators because, right? Yeah, so we are just using our basic knowledge and our stock knowledge in solving those problems because our teachers taught us on how to solve it. Then why should we rely on the calculator if we do know that we can solve it manually? So thank you.
I have a question though. There are contests and exams, right? Then we practice calculators. So why do we use calculators when there is contest? We are not allowed to use it like bar exams, MTAP. So yeah, that's a question. The MTAP. MTAP, yeah. Why are we not allowed to use calculators in MTAP contest?
Okay, thank you. In some contests, as the MSAP or the Math Teachers Association of the Philippines, I was one of the participants in that. So therefore, I can say that in that contest, we are not using calculators in which we are tested on how our knowledge been proven that we are really know how to solve mathematics. But in my case, I was favored to use calculators because in that we will be answering it easier and quicker. Because since nowadays people are like to work faster and easier, so therefore I can say that the school should allow students to use calculators. But in the contest, I don't know if they were prefer to use calculators. Thank you.
So you said a while ago that people will only rely on calculators. So does that mean that businessmen should also stop using calculators?
Businessmen uses calculators because they are facing large numbers. Then for them, time is gold, so they need to finish their work adds up. So they use calculators to make their reasoning.
Okay, so example, if you're in a situation that you need to solve, if you are in a situation in which the teacher gives you an activity which involves larger numbers, will you still take the risk of calculating it manually, or are you willing to use a calculator? Okay, I'm going to repeat the question. So, example, if you're in a situation which involves, like an activity which involves a large numbers, will you take the risk of answering it manually, which takes a lot of time, or will you use will you use calculator, which is faster and easier?
For me, I will just do it manually because I will do it manually to spend more time than to use a calculator at shorter time because in that way we can improve our knowledge skills, our mathematical skills in computing basic mathematical equation. Then we will know that the process of equations or how we get our answers.
If all students are allowed to use calculators during an activity, then you said that they can use this device to check their answers. Do you think the students will learn if they are dependent on calculators?
Well, I certainly believe that students will still learn from using calculators because, as we all know, calculators also has formulas in it. So I don't think the students will not remember the answers that they have solved or put into the calculator. So,
You say a while ago that the students were more independent if he or she uses calculator. Why do you say so?
Yeah, it's true because if a certain student are using calculators, they will be independent because why he or she will can do it manually if he or she has a calculator, right? So he will choose to use a calculator than to do it manually. So in that way, he or she will be independent to calculator.
Do you think calculators are helpful and effective at all times? And what other benefits can aside from making computations easily and accurate and fast, then what other benefits can calculators give?
I believe that calculators also help one person to save time and effort, and especially it involves higher computations and that all things.
And one of the benefits is it helps students more develop their knowledge in the mathematical concept. That's all. My question? Okay, how can you say that in using calculators in classroom environment, so how can you say that using calculators in classroom environment makes people lazy, dependent, and a hindrance in solving mathematical concepts? In fact, calculators help us in making our tasks or challenges in easy and fast. Again, how can you say that using calculators in classroom environment makes people lazy, dependent, and a hindrance in which calculators help people work faster and easier for the task?
Okay, some students, yes. Most of the students are too dependent, too lazy to solve. Why use calculators if we do know basic computation? For example, students nowadays don't even know what's the answer 5 plus 7, 12. Diba? Right? Yes. So they use calculators because they want to spend other time after arriving at the correct answer. For example, they are not the usual calculator. They are using cell phone. There are calculators in the cell phone. So after they arriving at the correct answer, after solving for example, the problem, they may do some other things. For example, they are sorting the net after they arrive at the correct answer. So that's all.
So, you said a while ago that students can develop their skills in math if they rely on calculators. But in my part, I have a question. How can students develop, I help me, I help the student develop their skills in math. If they will use calculator, it is like solving easy problem.
I do believe that every one of us has the stock knowledge. So, so we have all that. So we only use calculators because we want ourselves to do fast jobs. And it doesn't mean that when we use calculators, we have no knowledge and beats. It only means that calculators are only used to make our works fast and quicker. Thank you.
So I will allow the audience for their comments. Right, call on the volunteers.
For me, I am personally agree. I am personally agree in the theme of Section Sparrow, the positive theme. Calculators are known as a very useful device. When there's an opportunity, you are taking an exam, and you have to end this on time. Why did you choose to solve it manually if there's an easy way? Why did you choose to solve it manually if there's an easy way? And also, they say calculators keep students from benefiting from one of the most important reasons for learning math, to train and discipline the mind and to promote logical reasoning. That's why I can favor to use calculators.
Another volunteer.
I am against a theme of Sparrow, Section Sparrow, using catalytic proposition. For my own, those devices brought people advantage and disadvantage. People be so dependent on using calculators for counting. It made people become lazy because they are depending their idea and solving through devices, which is the calculator. Once more, most of us will be unable to memorize the process of problem solving. Perhaps relying too much on calculator for counting can embarrass too much on calculator. For counting can user. Therefore, devices limits the knowledge of the user.
Another volunteer for giving his or her comments.
Based on my observation, the proposition team has an idea about using calculator. They speak the advantages in using calculators. But for me, I will support the But for me, I will support the opposition team because If we use the calculator, you didn't know how to compute manually. Okay. Based on my experience, I didn't use calculator because I believe that if you use calculator, kana, if you use calculator, you become lazy, independent, then you depend. I,
Another volunteer for giving his or her comments.
For me, I am in favor in the both group. Not all times we can solve manually, and not all times we need to use calculators. There's a time that calculators are necessary, and there's also a time that we need to solve manually.
I will allow the judges for their comments.
Okay, this is our observation of your debate. So, the idea of the speaker is not validated immediately because there was no oral interrogation that follows. And then, that is now the speech of the opposite group, the opposite team, did not really focus on the idea of the positive. So the negative must have to oppose the idea of the negative. In fact, the result is that the negative team even support the idea of the positive. And then, the facilitator also, during the rebuttal or during the interrogation, did not control. So the result of the debate becomes a simple argument. And then, if even the time limit is not controlled by the facilitator. So the facilitator just listen, nalingaw na lang siya. And then the timekeeper did not really get the right time. So what happened? It is almost 1 o'clock. And then we have no accommodation. Well, the place, accommodation of student learning style. Well, they are given enough time to give their idea. However, the idea is too short, the idea. And then we have now the provision of learning and learning that is conducive for this debate. Well, I think we need bigger space for this area of the debate since we have the audience that will listen. Then active learning, well, I do believe that its group, its team, try to perform research, but the time they have performed research is not enough. It's not enough to really, let us see, enrich the idea, enrich the topic. And then, about the thinking skills, well, the idea is not really reach the higher thinking skills. It's just simply simple ideas about the use of calculator. contextual learning. As I said before, that the researcher or the participant of the team, they have lack of time in researching to this idea. The questioning and reacting skills. So in this case, it should be that the the question of one team, the question of one team, and then the next question must be murag nag-opposite bitaw, related na ilang question. So, iribata lang yung question. So, pagtasi, question na, the question na, accurate ba? How accurate is the use of calculator? So, it should be answered. No, pag answer na to, then you have now an idea or a question that can, literally, murag mo surprise sa other idea, sa other team. So, the result is that a debate. A debate. Now, nato, in conclusion, muraog sa based ako lang knowledge about debate. Murag dili gyud kayo siya bitaw maka-engage sa idea. Dili siya kay dindot siya kay debate. This is very nice because the idea will be mura bitaw maribatol dayon, maribatol then question until sa time muraog mabot na ta sa higher thinking skills, mag-anam na kataas. Okay, that's all my observation. Thank you.
So each side has its own point of view and the use of calculators in solving math problems. So it's up to you if you're going to use calculators in solving math problems or not. Okay, so they have said the advantages and the disadvantages in the use of calculators. So we would like to say thank you to our judges, Ma'am Cecilia Inon, Ma'am Lucine S. Samaray, and Mr. Jose Nojada for participating in our debate. And we'd like to also to thank our students from Section Sparrow and from Section Oriole for this debate. So, an audience from the grade 10. So, thank you for your time in coming and participating in our debate. So, next, are we going to announce our best presenter? No? Yeah, the certificate will be given. We'll just follow. Maybe we will distribute it next week. And the judges will, next Tuesday during our card giving. Yes, we are there. The judges will choose the best presenter and the best debater for this debate. So thank you. I think we can have our pictorial as part of our documentation.